No Name Nationals 2023 is in the books. It was a really great event, so I want to talk about that real quick, and I want to talk about a couple of plans and things going forward and going into No Name Nationals 2024, pending, everything happens the way it should. Um, but let's start No Name Nationals 2023, what happened, and my opinion on a couple of things. Um, so I didn't have a car this year. I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. And well, I mean, I could have brought a car, but didn't have the extra money around to make the 11-hour drive myself with a car. So didn't happen. So be it. Whatever the excuse is, there it is. So what I rode down with Bigfoots and Mopars, same as I did last year, and still had a really good time with a whole lot of people. I'm gonna try and name some people, but I'm gonna miss people. I know I am. So, if I miss you, I apologize. But I had a lot of fun hanging out with Bigfoots and Mopars, helping out with the Jack Pine Savage a little bit. It was really cool to see that go around. And I got to talk to a lot of people I didn't really get to talk to too much last year, but um, got to talk to Rabbit Transit Garage guys, Jason and Jay. Talked with them quite a bit. Of course, I was over with the Dust Devil Garage guys, Scott Speed Shop, Charger 383 Mopar, Engine Light Garage, Backwoods Performance guys, bunch of people. Talked with Jeff from Two Hacks. Talked with Brad from Poor Boys Garage. Talked with Heaven's Mopars, Scott, um, NSB Custom Cars. I was over there quite a bit. I was helping them film a bunch of stuff with their new little fancy camera. That's really cool. I don't know if they'll show that in the video, but a lot of that was filmed on there that I helped with. Um, had a lot of fun watching the Burnout Competition. I actually got to be one of the judges for the Burnout Competition, so that was kind of cool. Kind of right place, right time. They're trying to get some people, try to be as unbiased as possible. Everybody kind of from each kind of group camp, because everybody gets along. Everything's pretty good at the No Name Nationals, but there's kind of each individual groups there that different groups are a little closer than with everybody. But that's just how things go. Everything went great. Um, got to be a judge for the Burnout competition, so that was really cool. Um, but we watched a lot of good races. Got to see 318 will run the bracket race again. Didn't quite win it this year, but it was good. Um, got to hang out with Just Mopar Joe a bit, and Chris Testa from Testa Speed Shop. Got to go for a ride in his Firebird a couple of times just around town, and we went to Lambert's. And I made just in the passenger seat, but first ever pass down the drag strip in the NSB custom cars with Dean in his '69 Super B. So that was really cool. Um, really fun. So looking forward to being able to make a pass in my own car next year. So that's kind of the gist of what happened with the actual event. Got to talk to a lot of people. Like I said, I'm sure I missed a bunch of people, but I'll try to, as I remember names, I'll try to throw them in here. But definitely, thanks for hanging out with all those guys. And excuse me. Let's kind of talk about some stuff going on going into next year. But before that, let me recap just real quick saying I didn't really film much. I went into the event saying, oh yeah, I'm going to film all these races, I'm going to film all this and that and this and that, I'm going to have an hour long, chunk of footage. But didn't happen, got distracted, and honestly, I probably had more fun not recording than if I was recording. So, with that being said, anyways, let's talk about moving forward and moving on to next year. Um, let's talk about the previous years quick, leading up to next year, as to my plan for a car and how it all kind of works together. Okay, so for 2022, I wanted to bring a 66 Belvedere that was a recreation of a car that my grandpa owned that was a drag car before he got it, known as the Cheap Thrill Belvedere. Okay, so I got an engine for that, and I did a dyno on the engine. There's all kinds of information on the engine, and I'll get into that a little bit later too. But I got an engine for that, and I was going to put it together. Ran out of time, so I put it in the Super Bee, and it was just sitting in there right now. Right now, as we speak, it's just sitting in there. That's not the direction I wanted to go with the Super Bee. It was a last minute, hey, let's try to get this together so maybe we can make it. Okay, well, we didn't make it last year, obviously, or this year. So let's rewind and kind of reset a little bit with this whole plan and kind of go back to plan A. The 66 Belvedere is the plan. That's what I want to happen. And the engine that was going to go in the Belvedere that is now sitting in the Super Bee is going back to the engine for the Belvedere. And it's getting a tunnel ram. It probably won't have the 660s on there because I want to run, I've got a pair of 650s, which will be a little bit more friendly on the street. But let's talk about the engine real quick. It's a 440 that is stock stroke, 40 overbore, 6-pack piston, 6-pack rod, steel crank, 906 heads that have been ported, and a ridiculous amount of bowl work, and it has the 214 181 valves, the bigger upgraded valves. And the intake on it is coming off in favor of the tunnel ram for a few reasons. First of all, because the engine was originally built for a tunnel ram. I didn't build the engine. I bought the engine, and I found the history on the engine later. I bought the engine with no intake, and I asked the guy, you know what, why it doesn't have an intake? What's going on with that? He's like, oh, well, I had a tunnel ram with dual 4s on it, and my buddy came along and really wanted that intake, so I sold it to him. I was like, okay. So I took it apart. It's got ISKI adjustable rockers and all that other stuff I already said. So I was like, okay, well, I'll throw a single plane on it and it'll be fine. Well, it was more than fine. It was 500 horse and 550 torque on the dyno. But the port size on that intake I put on, it's stock port. And as I previously mentioned, those heads on the intake side are massively ported. More so than an actual tunnel ram port. They're actually kind of right between tunnel ram size and max wedge size. So the engine was not getting the flow that it wanted. So that's where this comes in. This is going back on, and I'll take that other intake off. That's an intake my dad really likes. He's going to put it on a 440. That's actually going to go in the Super Bee. So that's a different project, a different thing. So we're not getting into that. But the 500 horsepower 440 is going into the Belvedere with a tunnel ram through the hood, and it'll be a recreation, tribute, whatever you want to call it, of a car that my grandpa owned. So I'm not tubbing it, I'm not doing anything crazy with it, but it should be reasonably quick. It will, with the tunnel ram, it'll be over 500 horsepower and over 550 torque, because based on the dyno numbers and everything else that I saw, adding more intake to it would definitely help. Because when we were doing the dyno, when we were adding spacers, it was drastically jumping up the numbers. So clearly the engine wants more plenum actual volume. So you can't get more than that, really. So anyways, that will be going in the Belvedere, but first I need to do the actual engine bay, get that cleaned up. I got a little bit of body work to do in there by the battery tray. I got that welded up. I just need to do a little filler work there. And then the engine bay is getting painted white. The whole car is going to be eventually painted white. So I'm then going to be adding a blue painted top. So that's where it strays from the original. The original didn't have a blue painted top. It was just all white. The blue will be kind of, I actually have a blue right here. Kind of about like that. And it kind of will mimic a Sox and Martins sort of look a little bit just because of the blue painted roof. But it'll have tunnel rams sticking through the hood, and it'll have, you know, stock wheel wells, so it won't have big tires under it. It'll be like a 28 by 9 is all it'll fit. So I do have a 28-10-5 under there, but I don't know if that will fit 100% with weight and everything on it. It is very close. It is a 1/4 inch on each side of space, not even, so it probably would work, but it would be tight. So we'll be exploring that as well. But I'm going to get into that whole build, and I'm going to get into that whole thing in about a month, maybe a little bit less than a month. But we're in the process of building a shop right now and adding on to a bunch of stuff related to our house, so I won't be able to get to that right away. I'll be able to maybe make a couple little videos about it, but I'm not going to be able to get right away into the full build. So, No Name Nationals 2024, pending that it is in Sikeston, Missouri, or closer. I'll be there unless something catastrophic happens. I will be there with the 66 Belvedere. Jeez, losing my words here. And it should be a pretty good car. It's not going to be the fastest car there. It's not even going to be in the top 10 fastest cars there. It's just going to be something fun to drive. I want to run it through the bracket race just for the heck of it and see what it'll do. I want to have fun with it. So anyways, I just want to give a recap of 2023 No Name Nationals and what there is to look forward for the 2024 No Name Nationals. So hopefully somebody got at least something out of that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.